Well, hello again. This is Rik Deihs. Uh, you may have seen the other videos. I'm a APA member and ABA member and superintendent of the Hamburg Club of North America. And today I'm just doing kind of a general tips and things like that for housing of poultry. Now, if you've watched my previous video, the introduction to Hamburgs, you will have already seen cages and things that are in my shed or loft or coop, whatever you want to call it. And I mentioned briefly in there about perch bars, and I'm going to talk about that a little more today. Today we're out in my garden area, and this is a lean-to I constructed a few years back. And now, as I've stated before, all I keep personally are Bantam breeds, but I think most of these tips today will be able to be universal. So, alright, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I actually wanted to show was, if you remember, if you've seen the previous video, I have a Hamburg I referred to as Scar. And he was able to find a small hole. And this is more or less the main reason I wanted to do this video, was to point this kind of stuff out. So first off, you see here we got a cage. I don't remember the exact measurements offhand. I believe it was 2 foot by 3 foot. So it's about 3 foot deep and about 2 foot wide. I use this generally for single birds. You can put 2 smaller bantams in here, but it's a little crowded. And then you also see the perch bar. And one thing that is important is making sure it's a proper diameter. You want at least 1 inch around. I generally go with just the 1 by square pegs and just cut them down to size to fit roughly how many birds I think might be in that cage. As you can see here, that would easily fit 1 to 2 bantams. So anyhow, like I said, that is paramount to proper wing carriage. If birds are kept in cages and things for too long a period of time without being able to work those wings and just sitting on the ground, the wings will start to sag. I've actually seen this happen and stuff in my barred rocks, which that was early on and something I learned to correct. So anyhow, you see this cage is pretty decent size, and it's actually, I think, about 3 foot or more tall, almost 4 foot. It's let's say 3 foot tall. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact measurements here, but you can see up here now. That's a 4 by up there. So this gap is ventilation, and you see there's wire and stuff there to allow airflow from the back. And in here was the only gap in the spacing, and it was no more than 4 inches square. And that Hamburg cockerel was able to squeeze in there and drop over into the next cage. And unfortunately, in the next cage at that time was an older cockbird. And this resulted in what I'm still ashamed to say, that bird getting attacked and physically damaged. And you see over here, and it is a terrible thing, but if these little things that you might not think about, I never thought that that would be a big enough gap for a bird to fit in. I kept birds in here for over a year before a bird had actually squeezed through there. But any of these little gaps, see over here, a 2x4 beam actually closed it off. But any of these little gaps, make sure you fill these in. That's a hard lesson, and I still to this day feel so terrible for that bird. I am actually a little ashamed of it even, but like I said, if you guys can learn something, it's all the better. So anyhow, once again, you see the perch bar in there, and this is a single bird cage. I wouldn't put more than 1 bird in here. And when it comes to your housing, your breeds will be different. Breeds are going to need different needs. Like I have my barred rocks here. This is actually my 2 oldest ones that I have. That hen's about 6 years, almost 7 years old. That cockbird is about 5 years old. So anyhow, You can see they got this nice size cage. So take a step back here. Let me see the full size of it here. And that's comfortable for 2 birds. But as I say, different breeds will require different sizes. Is I could put 3 of my Hamburgs in here versus 2 of my Barred Rocks, where Barred Rocks are a much more full body breed. And we're going to require a little more space. So also keep that in mind when you're building cages or pens. So once again, you got the perch bar. So anyhow, that's my little lean-to. And actually, I'll show you down here as well. And here you can see these hooks I got. They are just hook latches, but they're the kind with the little spring loaded on here. Too many times have I heard of things easily just opening these, predators and such and getting in. And the way I have it designed is with a drop off there. There's actually a ledge right here. Nothing can get up in here and actually be able to get any leverage on that to pull it and open it. So, but down here, I built this specifically for meat birds. Now, some of you may be familiar with the Cornish cross breed. And these guys, they're kind of gross. So with them in mind, you want ideally a fallout bottom, because these guys, they produce so much waste. It's quite terrible, and it's almost impossible to keep these guys healthy laying and bedding unless you just want to spend a fortune on bedding. And some of you in 4-H and stuff are probably more familiar with this than I am. I've been doing the Cornish cross, about 20 to 40 of them for the last 4, almost 5 years. So anyhow, down here on the fallout bottom, I got designed to where I can easily get a rake down in here. And as I said, this is lean-to out in my garden, so I can rake this fertilizer right out into the garden, or shovel and throw it out there and rake it out and spread it out. So definitely ways of making use of the meat birds and their droppings too. So anyhow, I guess that's about it for today. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to go over that, more so because I had mentioned Scar in the other video, and I wanted to kind of share his story a little more and hopefully give you guys a little more insight on how to help prevent those things. Because 9 times out of 10, these males will attack each other, as I'm sure you know. They're generally not fans of each other. So anyhow, yeah, and I got motion lights out here, which come in handy for predators and stuff. Mostly around where I'm at, it's mostly raccoons come sniffing around. So these motion lights really help. And you can see I need to till my garden this weekend. But anyhow, all right, well, you guys take care, and I'm gonna try and do a couple more of these little videos. Nothing too fancy, and some of it may be stuff you already know, but a little refresher during our downtime. And hope everybody's doing all right, and we'll talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.